My name's Eli Delaney, and I have the honor of meeting some pretty cool people. These are the entrepreneurs, the artists, the creatives, the game changers that are making a positive impact in the people that they meet. And I'm a firm believer that the people that you meet can get you anywhere you want to go. And this show is my way of sharing them with you. It's my way of also helping you meet cool people. All right, welcome back, everybody. Eli here, and today on Meet Cool People, I have an awesome newer friend. He was introduced to me probably 3, 4, 5 weeks ago. Ended up having just a random conversation. A mutual friend of ours, Spring, reached out. I just want to say a shout out for her for the introduction. She's like, "You two are cool people. You need to talk to each other." And yeah, that totally happened. And today's guest is Dallas Amsden, and let me tell you a little bit about him. First and foremost, he used to be a stand-up comic in LA. He was a professional mime, and now he is the founder of Future You. He helps entrepreneurs stop the restart cycle and close the gap between who they are and who they are capable of becoming. And he is just an awesome dude to talk to. With that, Dallas, thanks for hanging out today.
Eli, it is great to be with you. Thank you so much. I don't normally get the mime introduction anymore, so that was you had me laughing off camera there. Thank you for that.
Yeah, well, I mean, that
always instills confidence in people when you tell someone you were a professional mime.
Well, considering you're a professional speaker now, that's about opposite of the spectrum as you can be. So,
well, that's true. It did. Here's the thing, mime did. It actually taught me to communicate with my body first. And one of the things I learned is you're always performing to the back row. You're always speaking, quote unquote, to the back row. So actually what it did when I leveraged it into my speaking career and into my stand-up comedy career was I had a comfortability on any platform physically that a lot of people didn't have. So it actually served me well. I kind of feel like a lot of my life has been gathering random tools that I picked up along the way that I'm like, oh, now I can use that. Right. So what Steve Jobs says, you can never connect the dots going forward.
I like it. No, that is awesome. And you're very right about that, because like for me, from a speaking standpoint, my background is in rock and roll. So nice. I come from the music standpoint. I was actually classically trained in voice. I had this funny thing called stage fright, which is why I got off of performing, started working behind the scenes. Yeah, go figure. I turned into a speaker. Still haven't figured out how the hell that happened. But I ended up working behind the scenes. I was a lighting guy. I was like, I was your spotlight operator for some of the biggest bands out there. And I learned so much about stage presence and how to work an audience and actually communicate with the room, not just stand there. Because, I mean, as anybody who's a fan of music knows, if they've ever seen a live show, the musicians, they are communicating with everybody and they have to make everybody feel included. And as a speaker, that's what you and I do as well. And I think that's one of the things that for me was a huge lesson, because we've all been there where we've seen speakers that just get up there and lecture. And those are the kind of things that put us to sleep.
They're rough. We've got those speakers that sometimes you are listening to them and thinking, boy, I really hope you quit sucking soon.
Yes. We've been there before.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I learned too with stand-up comedy, I learned that you know when you lose the audience. You got to read the room. Did I lose you?
Yeah. Am I there?
I can hear you, but the screen is broken up.
Okay, let's just go ahead and continue. We'll figure out what's going on with that. All of a sudden, it said I was disconnected, but I could still hear you just fine. So
okay, well,
if you can hear me, let's just continue.
If that's not how communication works too, every now and again, we're literally talking about how you can get disconnected from your audience, and that right at that moment, you and I got disconnected. So what's great is we take that moment, we shift, we pause, we pivot, and we reconnect, and that's what great communication does.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's, and for me again, it's and one of the things I work with clients on is when they decide they're going to do a webinar or they want to get into speaking or they want to get into being a guest on podcasts and stuff. I'm always telling them you have to know your material and you have to be able to work on the fly. It's like you never know, technology is going to blow up. I always, from a webinar standpoint, I always say it's not a matter of if it blows up, it's a matter of when, because it always will at some point. And I think that that's one of the things that from a communication standpoint, not just in speaking, coming from stage or anything like you and I are talking about right now, but this works in all of life, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
And that's kind of that's the stuff that you're helping people with is that leadership side and figuring out, okay, how do I just roll with the punches and figure out like what I'm doing? Like, what do I want to be? So
what do I want to be when I grow
about
up?
that. Yeah, I'm still figuring that one out at 52. But
yeah,
hey,
we all are.
Yeah. So tell us more about future you. I'd love to hear kind of what has led to the creation of that, and
Sure.
tell us more about what it is.
Sure. Well, it kind of started a few years ago. I've been in the coaching industry since 2019, and I actually went into the coaching industry a little bit out of necessity because I had been, at the time we were living in Los Angeles, and I had been working in the industry. I had been working sometimes as a background player, sometimes commercial work. Nothing anybody would ever know me from, but I was getting work as an actor. I had done some work as a stunt performer as well. But the industry itself was a slog and it was a drain. And it was what was also happening at the time, and this is very weird, but I was losing my hair at the time. So, like, my castability completely shifted. All of a sudden, I was told, you're not right for that. You're right for this. You look too old for that role, et cetera, et cetera. I'm also doing stand up comedy at the time and learning those communication skills. And there was just I want to say, almost an identity crisis, Eli, of I thought my life was going in one direction and it radically hooked on me. And so I also had a newborn baby at the time. I had been married for several years, but I started to have an identity crisis and I started to actually fall into a depression. And what occurred was eventually my wife came to me and she came to me with a list of therapists because she said, I think you're depressed. And I think you need to maybe talk with a therapist about it. And I was like, look, I can't I can't say that I'm a comic in LA who's seeing a therapist. Nothing is more cliche than that. Um, and what began to occur for me though was I did start seeing a therapist. At the same time, I was working with a coach, a life coach, to help me with some of my mindset stuff. The inner healing was working with the therapist. I was in group therapy and I was also on medication for a brief period of time. But I had been diagnosed in the 95th percentile on major depression and the 95th percentile on severe anxiety disorder. So something somewhere went vastly awry. And I remember, I'm thinking back actually, you had Dr. Lucette Beal a couple of months ago on the pod. And I'm thinking back to there was all that neuroscience I started learning about. And I thought I had motivation problems. I thought I had discipline problems. I was like, there's a lot of detours and delays and all of these things happen. Maybe I just have the bad luck, right? But I started this journey into neuroscience and started figuring out. And then I started doing all this studying on future self and the science involved in that. And basically, Tony Robbins would have called it, he never called it future self, but he says you paint a picture of a compelling future and to where you actually feel it, right? And I learned a little bit about a guy named Bob Proctor, and he had a book called Change Your Paradigm, Change Your Life, right? Maxwell Maltz.
I remember Bob was my first introduction into personal development.
Okay, so yeah, he had not been mine, but his book Change Your Paradigm, Change Your Life started put me on a new trajectory, and I started realizing, okay, there's a lot of old operating systems that I've allowed to from my past make me operate in my present. And as I got more and more into the studying of it, and I went down every rabbit hole you could imagine, from Dr. Joe Dispenza, Neville Goddard, Wallace Wattles. I mean, you just name it. I've studied it. There's a stack of 20 books that I read and reread and reread because I haven't learned everything from them Um, on Proctor's book, I'm on my 23rd reading of it.
Okay, nice.
So
That's
for
awesome.
4 years now, an accountability partner and I have been every day we leave each other a Marco Polo that says, "Here's my learning for today. Here's my power script," and we leave that for each other, and we are very disciplined in that. But it has shifted all of that. But what began to happen for me was I started to think, oh, if I want to have a compelling future, I have to actually create that version of me.
Right.
I have to imagine who he is. I have to start going, okay, how does present Dallas believe and think and behave or react? How does the future version of me respond rather than react? How does he believe? How does he behave, etc.? And so I've crafted this future version of me that isn't struggling in the business stuff, isn't dealing with the money, the health, the relationships, all the crap that we all go through constantly,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And instead has overcome that version. Now, does it take a little bit of imagination? Yes. But as my therapist said to me, when he took me through the first test and he goes, "Hey, you're in the 95th percentile on severe anxiety disorder," then he looked at me and he said, "Congratulations." And I thought, congratulations for 95th percentile on severe anxiety. And he says, yes, your anxiety means that you have an incredible imagination. It's just pointed at all the wrong potential outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, so what might be possible for you, Dallas, if we started shifting your imagination and you started aiming toward a brighter future? So it was just kind of like little seeds, little pebbles, right? Proctor, my therapist,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maxwell Maltz, that idea of self-image. And at that time, I had been coaching, but I was largely working with corporate clients in their communication skills and speaking. But on the side, I'm coaching quietly this small little group on mind shift stuff and developing this image of future you. And basically, the crux of it is this: if you can design that version of you and almost create like your future operating system,
Mm-hmm.
you can begin to download that operating system into your present reality rather than working on the old operating systems of the beliefs and behaviors of what was pumped into you from the teachers and the classmates and the friends and the siblings and the parents. Money doesn't grow on trees. You're never going to amount to anything. All of this crap that was downloaded into our brains when we were younger. Now, what if I begin to build that future operating system and download those upgrades into me? To begin to behave like future Dallas now, believe like future Dallas now, respond like future Dallas now. And to say that it has changed the mission of my life would be a small understatement, because now I am passionate about working with entrepreneurs, coaches, consultants, creatives, solopreneurs, about closing the gap between who they are today and who they know they are capable of becoming. Every one of them has a dream of a bright future, but they keep getting stuck on these restart cycles, these emotional loops, these trigger belief behavior things. And it's like, what if I can help you design the upgraded version of you and begin to beta test and download that into your present reality? We're going to close the gap, and you're going to become, not only do you get to say hello to future you, but you get to actually start becoming future you now. And that's really become my life mission at this point. I love a lot there. I hope that's all right.
No, that was fine. I was like, okay, I got all these things I want to talk about. Hopefully, I'll remember them by the time he stops talking, because I don't want to interrupt him. He's got good stuff he's sharing.
You can interrupt anytime.
Yeah, I know. So, I mean, I think it's great that you're bringing up obviously some of the classic names that were some of the people that you've learned from, and you keep reading their books, which I think that's something that I'm always a big advocate for. Is like, if there's something, especially mindset, personal development, things like that, those are books that, especially some of the classics, read them again and again and again, because it's not that the book changes. The book doesn't change, but you change. You have a different perspective. You have different experiences, and you're going to learn something new. You know, it's like I've shared this with people, where I've probably read Think and Grow Rich no less than 15 times over my career. And every time I get something different. And that's the power of this kind of information, which I think is great. So
it took me 2.5 years of reading about autosuggestion, which Napoleon Hill talks about in that book. I didn't get it. And
Yeah.
it was 2.5 years thinking, what is autosuggestion? And finding out about other ways to, what other people say about it too. And then finally one day it clicked. I was like, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Now I finally understand it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've only bought one new book in the last 5 months. It was
Okay.
this. It was the follow-up code.
Well, and I appreciate that, my
How
friend.
about that for a plug, Eli?
Yeah, just for the record, guys, I did not pay him to show that book for him.
It's the only book I bought in 4 or 5 months.
Well, I appreciate that. I really do, and thank you for that. And you and I, and actually, it's actually leads to next thing I want to talk about too, because you and I were talking about honesty being your favorite chapter, and I had just also Mind Letters is the newsletter that goes out on the Bushido side of things.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't even know that I've done that yet because it's still fairly new, and I'm still focusing primarily on my email marketing for the most part. But
Yeah.
I just released an issue related to honesty. And I think that leads into one of the things, like the line of where we're talking here. Like the first phrase that comes to my mind is one that's an overused phrase. And the reason is because it's been abused and misinterpreted, in my opinion, which is fake it till you make it.
Oh,
yeah. And I mean, we use it.
Visceral reaction on that.
Yeah. But here's the problem that I have with this. And I think that this is really relevant to the conversation we're having right now, because we talk about honesty being such an important thing. And you and I were talking about the industry, the coaching industry, and how a lot of that has changed. And you got something coming up you're going to be sharing. So we'll have to get that. We'll have to get that shared out when you do it. Where there's been a lot of dishonesty in all of that. And a lot of people think that is fake it till you make it. So just, say the thing because it'll come to be after I do it.
Right.
The problem is that attitude is, okay, that doesn't mean make stuff up and lie about things.
Right.
But what you're doing, you're coming from the opposite definition of fake it till you make it, which is, okay, this is what I want to be. Let me start acting like that person and doing the actions that person would do.
Yeah.
As opposed to, let me act like I've already made it and tell people I have.
Yeah.
So it's not just, you're not lying to people. You're just taking those things like, you guys, okay, as this future me that has this success, whatever that looks like for you, I would act differently. One of those things is most successful people are much more fit. So it's okay. So are you going to start exercising? Are you going to take that one piece and say, okay, well, if future me is in great health,
right,
then I probably need to get started on that one today.
That's it.
That's not a lie. That's just pulling that piece down and saying, okay, I got to start today.
Well, and to add to that, especially in the industry that you and I are in, entrepreneurial industry, coaches, consultants, writers, authors, etc., that fake it till you make it has led to a huge swell of imposter syndrome.
Yes.
And imposter syndrome is the thing that we hear about a lot from people. I struggle with imposter syndrome. I just 4 times this last week, I had conversations with different coaches, and one of them said, I was in this group and everybody was sharing their win, and I'm sitting there going, I hate when we have to share wins because I feel like I have to make one up.
Right.
And so their win is either a personal win or like a pipeline win. Well, I've got 3 other conversations happening, and it's like, well, don't waste your dopamine on the pipeline,
Yeah.
But that's not a win necessarily unless you have not been active and all of a sudden you're like, no, I finally started working my pipeline. But I hear that imposter syndrome thing a lot, and I think it's because we've bought into the idea that you fake it till you make it. You have to pose like a 6-figure if you're just a beginner, or you have to pose like a 7-figure earner if you've just broken 6 figures, because that's what we see in social media. That's what we see in marketing. And it's the same crap that years ago, everybody on Instagram, the pendulum swung so far of everything's got a filter on it. Everything's got, brushed up. This is not what it's the old adage of the guy sitting on the Lamborghini that's not his and taking a quick photo and then getting yelled at by the owner. Oh, sorry. But then he posts online, here's my Lambo, here's my lifestyle.
Right.
That's that's what's leading to a lot of this stuff. The way I prefer to think of it is, again, design it in the way that fits you. And then what you do is you beta test it in your current environments, just like we would a software.
Right.
You begin to say, this is how I'm going to start to show up. This is how I'm going to start to dress. And people are going to be like, well, look at you all dressed up and fancy, you know? But you're upgrading. That's all you're doing.
Right.
Or when the thing that used to trigger you in a conversation, when all of a sudden you go, I get a chance to beta test the new me.
Right.
That's not imposter syndrome. It's a beta test. And then I get to analyze later what worked, what didn't, where did I crash out, where did I bug out, where did I completely freeze up? And you go,
Right.
great, what would future me do now? Or what would future me do next time? Because the truth is, Eli, most of us have about 10 to 12 emotional triggers.
Okay.
Typically. It's the spouse that says the thing, or the kid that says the thing, or the coworker, or the boss, or the client thing, or the pipeline, or the funnel,
Right.
right? Or the bill that we don't want to pay every month that comes up and it makes us get clammy, or the fitness thing, or that, like, there's usually about 10 to 12 typical
Right.
triggers.
Okay.
Well, if I can learn to adapt from those 10 to 12 triggers and say, this is how future me is going to handle it next time, well, guaranteed my wife is going to say the thing in a couple of weeks. If she doesn't say it tomorrow, sometime she said it for the last 22 years. I bet it's going to come up again. So
Right.
then when I can see it happening, I go, future me, future me, future me. Let me beta test my new response.
Right.
And then it either works or it doesn't. And I just go back and I go, that worked really well. And we didn't get into an argument. Oh, great. Or bill or sale or client issue, right? It's the client who paid you the least amount that's the biggest voice and the biggest problem. Well, I know that person is coming, and I know they're going to complain every time they book a call with me. And I'm going to go,
Right.
okay, I know Sarah always does this. I know Bill always does this. How will future me lead them rather than present me just go, you're wrong and you're stupid? So it becomes about beta testing the new version of you with a lot of grace and integrity and honesty and that dedication of saying, no, I'm becoming the new me all the time.
Right. And I think, when you're doing that, I love the idea of this and putting it into perspective of beta testing, because I think that's easier for people to digest than I'm making a change. I'm a
Yeah.
whole new person now, because reality is you're not a whole new person.
Ever.
You're going to change your actions, your thoughts,
Yep.
your ideas, but you're still you. You are still the same person.
Yeah.
You just have to change the way your head's wired. And
That's it.
so when you bring it up as like beta testing, which of course I'm a nerd, so that also resonates for me, because
You're welcome.
I was doing beta testing on programming in BASIC back in 91, 90.
Oh,
Something like
nice.
that. I don't know. Long time ago. Really happy that I didn't keep going with that, because I hated coding. Yeah, but when we beta test something, and think of it that way, think of it as, okay, I'm just going to test it and see what happens.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that, for me, that I think is really important that a lot of times people miss when they start going through this is stopping and analyzing that result.
Yes.
And documenting the result.
Yes.
Write down those things. And one of them specifically that I think is a really good one to adjust is, as an example of, say, for instance, your future self, you got the success, you're a multimillionaire, all the things that you keep saying you want. There's a good chance you're probably going to dress a little nicer.
Yeah.
And, and it's not that you have to dress up all the time. You don't have to be stuffy, shirt, tie, all that kind of stuff, if that's not you. However, like for me, most of the time people see me in a t-shirt. That's normal day to day. However, when I am out at an event, especially if I'm speaking, I put on a jacket, I put on a nice shirt. And I can tell you that for me personally, when I upgraded and bought my first suit,
it's different.
It is very different. The feeling was so different. And it's like, at first it was like, I don't want to get a suit because that's stuffy and I don't want to be like that. And I want to be comfortable. And then I put it on and I was like, Okay, this is nice. And by the way, when attractive women in hotel or in elevators tell you you look nice, that helps the confidence.
It it bumps it a little bit. It's a nice
Just
little shot in the arm.
exactly. When you start getting compliments from people, you become more confident.
Yep.
And if you want to become that future self,
Yep.
confidence is always a factor, in my
Yep.
opinion. And
It's
so,
100%. And
yeah,
confidence comes from alignment.
yes.
Again, it's not another imposter syndrome. It's not another thing that's put on. Confidence comes from the alignment of you being aligned with your authentic self and your
Mhm.
authentic future self,
Yeah.
your passion, right? What you love to do and what you're good at, your excellence. So, authenticity, passion, and excellence. That's kind of the formula for confidence. And I can get the most shy, most quiet person to all of a sudden come to life. And you and I've seen it. We're talking to somebody who's a little,
Mhm.
and a little not
Right.
indirect, and you get them talking about something they love or something they're good at, that it's like authentically them, all of a sudden that fire lights in their
Mhm.
eyes. And
Yep.
you go, that's you.
Right.
And what's interesting is future you is closer to present you than I think we realize.
Okay. Yeah, I
I
like
think
it.
it's closer. But it's that alignment and it's that confidence that you're talking about there, 100%.
I love it. Awesome. So this is we talked a lot of theory on this stuff, but what is something people should what's the first step? Like,
Yeah.
what are the first things we should be thinking about if we're going to start putting this into play? What's that first step?
Well, there's a couple of things. Again, I mentioned those triggers. Becoming aware of your triggers is actually very important, because if you know what the typical ones are, then you can begin to say, is this how I want to continue to respond every time this comes up? Is this the me that I want to be when this thing occurs again and again and again and again? And there, just to give you a few of them, again, it's usually money and bills, or it's a relationship thing, or a kid thing, or a critical comment, either in person or online, right? There's slow sales can do it. There's the comparison game. What's the old cliche saying? Compare and despair, right? But there's health related triggers. There's sleep related triggers. There's tech related triggers. There's a whole list of them that can get you. So if you can become aware of those triggers and figure out how would the new me be when that old thing comes up that usually cycles me, that's one thing. But the other thing too is you have to dream a little bit. You have to dream of the version of you that you want to be. And there's kind of a 5-step process that I teach clients, and I'll just tell them to you real fast here, Eli. It's visualize, emotionalize. I'm going to give you all 5 and then I'll briefly explain them. Number 1, visualize. Number 2, emotionalize future you. Number 3, vocalize future you. Number 4, internalize future you. And then number 5 is the actualizing future you, and that's the beta test. So number 5 is the beta test of that whole thing. But first, you got to see it, visualize and emotionalize, see it and feel it. And if you don't see future you clearly, this is the version of me I want to be. This is the health level I want to be, the fit, the finance, right? The spiritual version of me that I want to be, the relational version of me. If you can't visualize that in a way that ignites your imagination and emotionalizes you and excites you, you don't yet have the right picture. So visualize and emotionalize, those are kind of kissing cousins. They're like right there with each other. The third step is that you have to begin to vocalize it. I have to begin to speak in a way that I say I am happy and grateful. And this is Bob Proctor 101. He says his 8 magic words, right? I am so happy and grateful now that. And you speak it of future as though it's present. Now that I'm financially free, now that my relationships are on point and on fire, now that my relationship with my children is great, now that my business is doing what I want. And you begin to say the future as though it's present. So number 1, visualize. 2, emotionalize. 3, you begin to vocalize. It's what I call the power script. Number 4, and it's the one we alluded to earlier, Eli, that's the internalize, but that's actually auto-suggestion. And just a quick overview of that. Auto-suggestion is basically, it's the weight of my small words, my small phrases. So if I say, I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm at my ideal weight and I'm healthy, But then, and I put that big 10-pound weight on the side of the scale, once a day. And I'm like, yeah, look at my big power script, 10 pounds of love toward future Dallas. And then I put a little 1 pound, I don't want a meal plan. I don't want to go to the gym. I'm a little sore. Bending over to tie my shoes sucks because I'm sore. If all of a sudden I'm saying little 1 pound messages to myself, micro scripts is what I call them, or auto suggestion. If I start doing that, then all of a sudden, if I say 10, 15, 20 of those a day, I outweigh my one big, I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm healthy. So learning how to micro script your mindset, or micro dose your mindset would be a way to say it. That's how I begin to internalize the internal scripts and change the Proctor paradigm. And then that fifth is I begin to beta test that. I actualize it in my world, and then I figure out what works and what doesn't. So long-winded answer. Number one, figure out your triggers. Number two, go through the 5-step process of creating and designing future you.
Nice. I love it. And that is, and all of those are great. I love the process that you put together with it. And those auto suggestions are such a powerful thing. People don't even realize words have power. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
what is it? I think it was Bruce Lee, and I don't remember the exact quote, but he was always like, you have to watch what you say. Don't say negative things, especially to yourself, because words are spells. That's why they call it spelling.
Mm-hmm. I remember you're real close on that quote. You're real.
Okay.
Yeah.
I knew I was close about it. I just don't remember the exact words, but it was such a, when I read that was such a powerful thing. And that's one of the things I'm always trying to keep in mind is like, okay, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Stop there. I said this.
Yep.
And it seems insignificant, but it's not.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, and the other part of that is your body doesn't know the difference when you're talking to yourself.
Right.
If you feel negatively, your body reads negative. The subconscious doesn't decipher, oh, wait, we're joking about ourselves, or, oh, I'm just doing self-deprecating humor. It doesn't know that. So the way we talk to ourselves is crucial to this becoming more and more. You talked about that on your pod. What, 2 months ago, you talked about your self-talk, negative self-talk. Y'all, if you aren't listening to Me Cool People, you need to be listening to Me Cool People. I've binged it since I met you, Eli.
I appreciate that, man. I really do. I have a lot of fun doing these. They're just,
Sure.
you know, and, you know, even when I do, you know, sometimes I'm like, okay, we're going to do a solo episode today. I just try to figure out what, you know, what's a lesson that I can share with the world for the day. And usually there are things that are going on in my head. So it's like, okay, this is something that I've been going through, or I have recently gone through, and this is how I reframed it, or I felt that this is the issue that I'm seeing in the world, and this is what I'd like to see differently.
Yep.
Here's how we deal with that chaos and do it what I feel is the better way.
Yep.
I love it.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much. I'm very happy to hear that you're listening to the show, because I have fun doing these. Definitely.
It's good.
Yeah, this has been awesome stuff. So, any last things you want to share before we do the wrap up here? You shared some really good stuff there.
I would say probably one of the things too, when I put myself on the idea of beta testing, I have a lot more compassion with me.
Okay.
And I think that's I think that's something we need a little bit more. I mean, everybody talks about having compassion for the world around us, right? Mm-hmm. And compassion for the other. I think compassion for self is also important, because when I was in my depression, when I was in the deepest part of my anxiety, I hated the guy in the mirror. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't stand looking at him. Yes. And the moment I even caught a glimpse of myself walking in front of a storefront, there would be a negative impulse. And so I think one of the things we have to do is we have to begin to re-compassion to ourselves. Mm-hmm. Understand that we are in process. Quit comparing to everybody's filtered life, or their the way I explain it sometimes, Eli, is I'm seeing single frame snapshots of everyone else's life. I'm living the movie of mine. And that's 30 frames per second for 2.5 hours of a good movie. And it's been a dramatic movie. There's been comedies and twists and turns and drama and action and violence, right? That's my life. But when
a lot of stuff blowing up.
That's right. And when I compare that to one person's single 30 frame per second frame snapshot that's filtered and edited and cropped
Right.
and cut, right? Um, I can choose to say I can choose to tell myself a story. That's how amazing is their life. How crappy is mine? Or I can choose compassion and go, no, I'm different than I was 6 months ago. I'm way better than I was a year ago. Holy cow, look how far I've come in the last 3 years. What might be possible if I continue to love myself and become future me every day between now and then? I think self-compassion is a priority. And I think that if you're listening to this and you've struggled with that for so long, I believe probably what's best for you is to take a moment and look in the mirror. And you don't have to go through a whole, ho'oponopono prayer. I'm sorry, please forgive me. You don't have to do all of that stuff. You can simply look and say, you're okay.
Mm-hmm.
And if you start there, that's the gentlest thing you can say to yourself right now. Hey, you're okay. You're going to trust that voice because it's you speaking to you rather than you suck, right? It's no,
Right.
you're okay. You're doing better all the time. And so just start with gentle words of compassion and see that level of love for yourself increase. One last thing on that. Dr. Noah St. John, he said the quality of your life depends on two things. Number one, the quality of your communication with yourself. And then number two, the quality of your communication with the world around you.
I love it.
So that kind of leads back to what we were saying at the beginning about
Yep.
communication skills. I'm only as good outside the walls as I am inside the head. So quality of communication with yourself, quality of communication with the world, that creates the quality of life that you have.
That's a mic drop right there, 100%. And I love this so much because the fact that that has been something that I have been talking a lot about lately too, is that compassion with self, because
Yeah.
we tend to, I'm a big one on, my core values are kindness and respect, and we got to have those two things, but it's not always just external. We have to do it internally as well, or else it's
Yeah.
just not going to make a difference. So
Yep.
I love what you just shared there, man. That really hit home, 100%.
Awesome.
All right.
I've so appreciated being on here with you. Thank you.
Well, this is fun. I mean,
Yeah.
I knew it was going to be a great conversation.
Well, when
The
we
fun
first
thing is,
met.
I know. Well, and see, and that's one of the things, and I've said this to other guests. I say a lot of times off recording that this show is an invite only show,
Yeah.
and I don't just take random people. I don't have a just be a guest on my show kind of page or anything like that. It's a, hey, we have a conversation. We get to know each other.
Yeah.
Sometimes that conversation, I might invite somebody on the show that I've known for 6, 12 months or even years sometimes. And sometimes it happens immediate. And it doesn't happen immediately very often.
Mm.
But as soon as we had that conversation, I was like, yep, this dude's somebody I want to continue a conversation with. I want him on the show.
Well,
So
you
I
got to come
want
on
to.
mine. You got to come on my pod as well.
Let's make it happen. You tell me how to get booked. We'll make that happen, my
You
friend.
got it.
But this is definitely great stuff. I really appreciate everything you shared today. This is definitely hitting home. We're gonna go ahead and wrap things up. I have two final questions I always ask everybody.
Yep.
Last one's the easy one. How do people get a hold of you? But before that, I do like to ask every one of my guests, what do the words "meet cool people" mean to you?
I think meet cool people starts with curiosity. I think everybody's got an interesting story, but it only it only matters if you're curious about them, because everybody's got something interesting to say. But the more curious I am about you, your life, your story, your journey, the more cool I find out you actually are. Because whether that is cool because you've had a series, a comedy of errors, I want to get curious about that with you. Whether it's cool because you've just been lived a transcendent life, I want to get curious with you. So I think curiosity is, when I think about meeting cool people, it's actually being genuinely curious about who you are, what your story is, what your dreams are, and if there's any way that we can work together that I can help you make those dreams a reality. To me, that's what meeting cool people is all about.
I love it. That is one of the favorite things, is just curious about other people. And I've had other guests that have brought that same phrase up too. It's kind of cool because I ask everybody that question and everybody has their own thing, but there's so much similarities that just is like, I found my people. That's what it's all about.
Well, and you and I both know, Eli, not cool people are the people who talk about themselves continuously And you're just sitting there going, are we having a conversation or are you giving a monologue here? Like, is this a Shakespearean soliloquy? Because I am not in that. To be or not to be, my friend.
I love that. That is so funny. That is awesome. All right. Well, people are going to want to follow you, find out more about what's going on with you. What's the best way for people to contact you?
Best way to contact me is just Dallas Amsden, and probably instagram.com/Dallas Amsden, dallasamsden.com. The other thing too, I mentioned those triggers and there's a resource for your people if they want to get it. It's 15triggers.com, and it's the 15 typical triggers that set people on the wrong course. So if they want to get access to that checklist and a quick tool to overcome it, how to adapt to it, that would be good. But yeah, dallasamsden.com or Instagram or LinkedIn, Dallas Amsden.
Awesome. I love it. And 15triggers.com, correct?
Yeah, 15triggers.com.
Okay. Awesome. Well, definitely everybody get out there, go download that, check it out, and follow Dallas. He's got some pretty cool stuff he's sharing out there. Dallas, thank you so much for hanging out with me today, my friend.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure having you today.
Much gratitude, my friend.
All right, everybody else, get out there. Have an awesome week. As always, if there's anything I can do to help you out, reach out, let me know. Take care. And that wraps up another Meet Cool People show. Now, if you like what you heard, be sure to give us a like, subscribe, or review so I can help introduce these amazing cool people to even more amazing cool people. And just remember, meeting cool people is just the beginning. You need to have a system in place to follow up with the amazing people that you meet. This is exactly what we do for our clients. Now, if you'd like to see if my team and I can help you, go to convertmoreclientsnow.com and check out the case study video to see exactly how we're helping our clients turn casual connections into cash clients for life. Again, go to convertmoreclientsnow.com and see how we can work together to turn you into a follow-up rock star.